Gray Magnolias. It has been a minute. I have been in the trenches of adjusting to my new job, which I love, and reading and writing. And in the days I have off, I'm like depleted of any kind of, doing anything besides the basic necessities of cooking, tidying up, flipping the laundry, and reading. So, but last night I finished it in the span of like a week and a half. Is it in order? Yes. The Black Jewel Trilogy by Anne Bishop. I finished it last night. It was a journey. Where do I begin? So this is gonna be like a review. There probably will be containing like spoilers, so warning for that. In case I get too heated up and get, away from myself. But overall, I rate the series overall, I rate the series a 4.5 star. The magic system, okay, I've seen this like kind of trend on like Book Talk or whatever. Read this if you love a different and interesting and intricate magic system, political intrigue, strong characters, strong female character, plot. How should you read this? Okay, that's about it. Don't read this if you, the trigger warning list for this series is like as long as my arm. Don't read this if you can't deal with SA mentioning on page, off page, child SA, extreme mental, physical, emotional abuse, violence, cursing, torture, if you have troubles with age gap, which then later is like okay, but beginning is like a little questionable, actually not a little, I take that back, very questionable. Yeah, see, that's a longer list of like why not to read it and to read it, but I could not put this down. Book one, which, so this is, I don't even know if I've said this. This is the Black Jewels Trilogy by Anne Bishop, one of my favorite authors that I discovered last year. From the others, I have several videos. I mentioned it several times throughout my videos. So this is her debut, if I'm not mistaken. This is her debut. No, it could be the other one's her debut. I'd have to check the dates of publication, but this is one of the beginning of her writings. It is high fantasy, great world building, I have to say. If you like world building, you can enjoy this as well. So everything starts with a vision seen by Teresa. She's a broken black widow. She saw an ancient prophecy come to life in the web of dreams and visions. So this is like dating to when this prophecy is like before she's born, 700 years, and it skips 700 years, she's born, and when they finally find her, she's very young, and that's not what they expected. Very, very young, like 12. I thought she was older, but she's like literally only 12. Okay, I'm gonna do my best again. If you watch my videos, I appreciate it, but I'm not the best at this. I have no notes. This is just from memory while it's still fresh. This book one was so brutal, so effed up, and just like, I was like, like the whole time. And little phases me. I've read some very depraved things. Like, I think I mentioned this one series that I picked up, Duology, that was then later banned, and rightfully so. It's like, why'd you write this? So this is like dark. This is dark. The world building, the magic system is super interesting. I've never read anything like them. Just slowly now getting into fantasy. And let me backtrack. The reason why I came across this was I saw a small clip, which I would not be able to find, so I'm sorry, I'm not gonna credit or link because I don't know. It was in my doom scrolling. A podcast clip of two ladies that were saying this was the inspiration of Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Whatever series. And I've seen so much like tidbits and character references and art, and I haven't even read, and I'm not going to read anything of Sarah J. Maas personally. But yeah, this is like pretty parallel. And some say even like I've seen, again, don't quote me, and this is all hearsay or whatever, but kind of like very, very, very similar to this series. We have different races, we have different species and stuff like that for the most part. Yeah, races, species. There is, oh my god, I'm like blanking out. There's kindred, which are, you know, witches and warlords, but they're animals. Large cats, wolves, and other horses and unicorns and stuff like that. So we have Janelle. Okay, wait. Let me backtrack. I barely know how to pronounce any name. The places, don't even get me started. Like, there was which I did not care for this. In book 2, I'm like, sorry, I'm all over the place. In book 2, we get introduced to the main female character's these secret friends that she's like gone off and made friends with, and it's like a super secret, and she like disappears, and she's like friends with people from all over the world, right? So she gets badly hurt in book 1. They're like, where the hell is she? And they come where she is or whatever, or she finally comes to, and the person who becomes her guardian is like trying to get her out of her shell from her extreme trauma, super traumatic, extreme trauma, trying to cope. And we get bombarded with like 50 new characters, it feels like. And I'm like, what? Who are these people? I don't know. I mean, they kind of like, only one sticks to me, which is Carla. Anyways, so that is one thing I did not care for. And I think it's obviously very, you always see like little jokey TikTok reels and all that when you're like reading fantasy, and it's like all these like names and places, and you're just like, what? So that is very heavy with this book. Besides the forming, besides like the 10 characters you like really learn about throughout, otherwise everyone else, I'm like, who are you? Like, I don't even know how to say your name. Anyways, so everything is told in third person, which is great, and it's told in multiple POVs, and none of them are the female main character, which is one thing that that's why like that knocked down like a quarter of a star for me, that I felt like it would have added such richness and like intensity to the story if we got her POV, which we don't at all. Maybe like a smidge, but I felt like it would have been so like, because she was dealing with a lot, you know, this prophecy that got put on her shoulders of this dream made flesh. She's gonna be witch. She's gonna clean the country from all its tainted blood and all this stuff, and like all this burden on her, and then her coping with this immense power that's inside of her, that she can't even do basic craft, which is like, you know, basic spells and stuff like that, but she can like travel the way that's travel, like that's not even technically possible. She can build these bridges. It's like, how do you even do that, you know? So that was one of my biggest gripes, is that I truly wish that we got her POV. Okay, okay, let's round it back to this book. So we get told the prophecy, 700 years. We get introduced to Damien. I think that's how you say his name. Damien, who is actually like, I already filmed this and then like I had no storage and I was just like, screw it. So anyway, so let's talk about the magic system. So the magic system is based on jewels, right? The like middle, like the control line, I guess you could say, is the opal jewel, which, as you know, opal is like very rainbowy and has like every color in it depending on which cut, you know, like none is the same, right? So above it, it goes like the lighter jewels, which is purple dusk, summer sky, rose, tiger eye, yellow, and white. And then below are the darker jewels, which as the jewel becomes darker, you are stronger. Layman's terms. We have green, we have sapphire, red, gray, and ebon gray, and black, which is like very rare. There's very few, all that good stuff. Yeah, opal's a dividing line between lighter and darker jewels because it can be either, right? Multicolored jewel. So when making the offering to the darkness, which is kind of like a ritual type thing, it's not like Eschual. There's like Virgin Night, which is different, but making an offering to the darkness is not Eschual, at least from what I interpreted. Person can descend a maximum of 3 ranks from their birthright jewel. So they are born, if they are of blood, they are born with a jewel. And then from there, they can descend 3 rankings. Maximum. So I'm assuming that some like maybe only descend 1 or whatnot, but so white could descend to rose. And then if you're born sapphire, you can descend to ebon gray. Okay, so then the hierarchy in caste is very intricate and I really liked it. It was very different. Again, I'm like really new to fantasy. I've read a couple things, but I think this is my first like high fantasy with like a crazy magic system, a lot of political stuff and hierarchy and all that stuff. So in regards to the males in this world, the male are like, so the umbrella is woman, right? And underneath is man. Like woman is like top tier. So males, there's Landon, which are non-blood of any race. They're just like regular humans. Blood males is the general term of all blood, and also refers to any blood males who doesn't wear a jewel but can perform some kind of craft, like basic craft. I would think, doesn't specify here, but that's just my assumption. And then we have a warlord, is a jeweled male of equal in status to a witch. And then we have prince, a jeweled male equal to status of a priestess or a healer. And then warlord prince, which is a dangerous, extremely aggressive jeweled male in status slightly lower than a queen. So anything, I mean, queens, there's a couple of queens throughout the story that are ranked with like lighter jewels or whatever, because a big part of like history and everything that like the darker jewels have been like wiped away. Like there's very few, they're very rare, they're very, like, so there's that. And so females, again, land in non-blood race, blood female, general term, they don't wear jewels, but they can perform basic craft. A healer is a witch who heals physical wounds and illness, equal to status of a priestess and a prince. A priestess, a witch who cares for altars, sanctuary, dark altars, witnesses, handfasts, marriages, performs offerings, equal to status to a healer and a prince. A black widow, a witch who heals the mind, weaves a tangled web of dreams, visions, is trained in illusion and poisons. And then queen, a witch who rules the blood, is considered to be the land's heart and the blood's moral center. As such, she is the focal point of their society. So as you can see, queen, woman in center, and then like there's like circles. Like first circle is usually other smaller queens or priestesses, and then it's like the men on the outside, right? So that is the magic system. That is the way they get their powers, is through the jewels that they are given. And as the story progresses, you learn more about the history of jewels, where they came from, a couple of characters' theories and stuff like that. So the prophecy or like dream is told by this broken Black Widow. Like so again, there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of SARAPE, like a lot of them, like I kept seeing like, oh, this is very dark, this is very dark, it's super dark, and this is not when I was like, you know, over obsessing about like reading it. And that is like putting it lightly. Like, this is so messed up. But like in like learning the history of how the men are controlled by the women, right? And the women in control right now at the beginning of the series, or like throughout, they're very disrespectful towards men. Like, they abuse them, they RAP them constantly, they have to wear these rings of obedience on their like nether regions to control them, and it hurts them. Like, it's really messed up, right? They like, so that's like tainted blood. Like, they're not following protocol of what is which to priest to warlord and all that stuff of like respect, and like, yes, you're the queen, but still you have to respect and such. So there's a lot of that. But in what's happening as the world is corrupting around and the prophecy's born and everything, there is men who are trying to control the younger generation and trying to be like, well, we're men, we should be like in power and stuff like that. Even though like there's women puppeteering them, there's like these men doing horrible, horrific things. Again, SARAPE, like mental, physical torture. Like, I can't emphasize enough, trigger warning if you're going to read this. So she tells this, in the prologue, she tells this prophecy of the, you know, the dream made flesh of like, this woman is gonna, this witch, it's called, she's witch, you know, not like, oh, the witch, it's like witch, you know, like there's, that's it. She's gonna bring back what the blood is supposed to be, the protocol, the like, back to its roots, because it's been corrupt over time. There was a big war and a lot of people were wiped out and all this stuff. So we have our first male main character, which is the main male character, is Damon Sadi. He is like, he's known as the sadist. He is like the court's pleasure, as you know what I mean. And then his brother, Lucifer, bear with me, Lucifer Yanslan. I'll post, as I say their names, I'll put them on the screen so you could be like, Alma, that is not how you fucking say that shit. Excuse my French. But he's an Aryan half-breed, which is kind of like, they have wings. Again, if you've read Sarah J. Maas, and again, I haven't read Sarah J. Maas, but I've seen plenty of artwork and all that stuff, you know one of them has wings. And I'm pretty sure he's an Aryan race, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, excuse me. So, so we meet them, all this stuff, and like they're told, like, he has the, you know, Damon has this dream he knows that he's meant to serve a black queen, the witch, you know, to be her consort, which is her kind of like first-hand partner of intimacy, and just kind of like her right-hand man as well. And he is like Black Widow, like he wears a black jewel and stuff. He's very strong, but he is like imprisoned. He's like a slave, pretty much. And his brother as well, he's an Eben Grey, he's very strong. They're half siblings, but they share the same father, which becomes relevant. So yeah, so the story proceeds. 700 years pass. Lucifer is the first to meet Witch. He's in prison and he's like calling out in pain and agony, I think, if I can't remember. He's serving a court of a queen who's like a total bitch and all this stuff, and he meets her, and he knows instantly that this is Witch, right? And he's like worried about it. He's like, oh no, like, promise me you will not travel like the way you're traveling. You can't trust anybody. If someone takes you up from behind, you know, this is what you do and all this stuff. And he like gives her a hug and like kisses her head, and he's like, protect yourself, find me in like 16 years, because she's like, find me when you're 16, because when she like pops up out of nowhere, she's like 6. So a lot of time passes throughout the series. Anyway, so this is like book 1 is we meet Satan, which is the Prince of Hell, I guess you could speak. He rules hell. He's a guardian. He's not demon dead, which is like when someone's died but they have enough like anger and volition to not fully be dead. And he, the prophecy tells like this is the daughter of his blood, so he awaits her and stuff like that. So again, this book one, and I'm like rambling. Book one is extremely dark, so messed up. We finally, after a little bit, we finally get to the point where, Damon gets sent to the court she's in, literally in the house she's in, and he finally finds her. And he's like distraught that she's so young, because obviously he would like never do that and all this stuff. But he's like 1700 years old. Just, they live a long time. So it's him just like protecting her and like getting to know her and stuff like that. And then she's secretly been training with Satan, which he's the High Lord of Hell. I think that's High Lord, Dark High Lord, whatever. So the journey in book one was brutal. It ended in such a like terrible way. Everyone gets sent in different directions. Lucifer is still jailed or whatever, and then Jenny L, who is the main female character, gets hurt. It's not exactly spoiler warning, but it is like, it happens at the end. And she's like also trying to, again, this is why I really wanted her to have her own POV, because she's so impressionable, right? She's very young, very impressionable, and Satan's worried about her. He's trying to guide her to be witch and all this stuff. But since she's not fully with him, and she only comes and she disappears for months at a time, when she shows up, she's like emancipated. She's like, has, empty look in her eyes and all this stuff. And she's like hiding this. She's like harboring this and like won't speak to anyone, which I understand in the scheme of things, but I really wish we could just peek into her mind here and there, even if it was like broken up. I've read books like that. It would have been really, like, even more impactful than the book was. So yeah, so you have POV from like all these characters, really well written. The thing about Anne Bishop, she does such a great job of giving you, like, making you know even the slightest. Like, there's a butler within the series, like, how he is. There's a head housemaid in the home that they end up being in, that you like know her, like, not to mess with her and all this stuff. So yeah, book one. Book two is kind of like the healing process. Damon is very hurt. He's lost in the Twisted Kingdom, which is a place where a broken witch or warlord go after something terrible has happened. Something terrible did happen, and he thinks he, doesn't know the truth, and he got lost in the process of it all. So he's like not really in here, only like in bits and pieces of like him in the Twisted Kingdom. And usually if you go into the Twisted Kingdom, there's like no coming back. But spoiler, he comes back because Janelle is like super powerful and helps him. And again, like, things get exposed. There's this villainess who's a total Hecta, I think her name is, with Dorothea, who's another see you next Tuesday. I couldn't stand both of them. And they want Janelle. They want to control her. They want to influence her to then fulfill like what they failed at in the previous war. And Hecta's like demon dead. Like again, that's not really a spoiler. So, a lot of that, like, again, Janelle's very young, but she's like entering, like, she escaped her childhood home when she was like 14, no, like 16, 15-ish. And then here it goes through a span of time of her like healing. We then meet all those people that she knows, and like all these crazy things that they thought was just like myth and legend, and like, no, it's real. There's unicorns, there's kindred and all this stuff. And then she makes her offering to the darkness, which takes longer than anyone's ever had, and she comes out with, so when she first meets, sorry, I'm like going back, when she first meets Satan, he's like, oh, what are your jewels? And she's like, oh, I don't know, I can't do anything. And she like throws a million, like every colored jewel on the table. He's like, what? She's like, yeah. And then I can't do anything with this either. And she dumps a bag of gigantic, varying in sizes, black jewels that are uncut. So he's like, oh, what am I dealing with? Holy crap. She's like so powerful, and she can't even do She has all of this power within Jules, right? And she can't even do, like, she can't even, like, lift and or, like, call her shoes from somewhere or something like that. She, like, called, like, the whole room in that one scene. So, yeah, book 2, she's, like, learning, and, you know, now she's learning with friends and all this stuff, and now Satan is guardian of her, and now they're dealing with the Dark Council, and they're getting in the way and all this stuff. Very, very, compared to Darkness, this one was like a level 1000 in effed upness, and this one's pretty dark too. I think I like this one better, but I wish Damon was more in it, but he's not. So, like, yeah, just the world building, the characters, again, and then, in this book, we learn more about Lucifer. He finally escapes his imprisonment, he comes to her, she heals him, and he represents her brother, right? Like, that's her brother. That's a big thing, this four-sided triangle. The father, son, the father, the lover, the brother, and then the center or whatever. So that was book 3. Book 2, no, this is book 2, this is book 3. Oh, I'm not tripping. Sorry, this was book 3, and this was book 2. Sorry. I'm not gonna hold that. So, in book 3, it was a little frustrating. A big portion of it was Damon trying to navigate becoming Danielle's consort. He wanted her, she already created her circle. She never wanted to be queen. She never wanted to rule anybody. She wanted to, like, be a recluse, be with animals, especially, like, with all the trauma that she went through. I don't blame her. So a big part of book 3 was Damon trying to, like, how do we do this? Like, even though he was, like, a pleasure slave, he's a virgin, which I was pretty surprised, but it made sense because when he was sent to these different courts, like, loaned out, which is, like, really messed up, to be a pleasure slave or whatever, he used his psyche to give pleasure and, like, torture them, call them the sadish. So it was, like, almost like a torturous sexual experience, and, like, all the, like, queens, like, and people who had him, like, couldn't shut up about him, but he never stood to salute for nobody. Let me tell you, which I then, like, later connected. I was like, oh, okay, so yeah, he is a virgin. And of course then she has, like, this super traumatic thing that happened to her, and he, like, he doesn't want to overstep, he doesn't want to, like, all this stuff. And then by this point she's, like, almost 30, you know, of, like, all this time has passed. Yes, he met her when she was really young. They literally spent 13 years apart in book 2, like, because she was, like, she had, like, closed off part of what happened to her, like, memory wise, and so it was the journey of kind of, like, as she grew older and time passed, being ready to acknowledge what happened. And when she realized who was missing, who she left behind, she was, like, devastated, and that's, you know, them trying to get him back. And then, hello, this is editing me, and I'm not sure if I inserted this in the right place or not, but one thing that I did not talk about is that I really wish they spent more time developing the relationship between Damon and Danielle. If I'm saying her name right or not, I'm sorry. Yeah, so just especially with the age difference at the beginning and everything they went through, and then them trying to, like, actually form an actual relationship, because Damien doesn't want to be like his brother, like his brothers become to her, like a adoptive brother and stuff like that. So I just also wish we saw more in depth of that, because then it kind of, like, fades to black for certain things, and just I wanted to hear them talking more, but it's just a lot of him avoiding her, you know. And here it's like she's awkward, she doesn't know, because of what she knows is very, like, harmful and all this stuff, and then he, like, doesn't want to be overwhelming for her and trigger her memories and trauma and all this stuff. So then, like, also a war breaks out. Hecta and Dorothea, the queens of Treniel, which is another, like, it's Keeler Kalier, and there's so many places, so many names. But I think I'm going to conclude there in regards to like talking about the book. Like, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to read the rest of the series. I have 3 other books that I think are in the orders after this, because this is like a trilogy. Like, I'm certain you could read this and never touch the other books. Like, it ends, it concludes. There's no epilogue or anything like that. I actually cried. I was like, I didn't feel that good yesterday, but I was like reading, and then I was like in bed waiting for my husband and son to come to bed, and I'm like, they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, my book. And they came and like gave me a hug. But as like I got up and I was like, before I fell asleep, and I was looking through Goodreads, because I was adding it to my Goodreads. I haven't left a written review yet or anything like that, and I was just kind of reading what the other books are about, because it's like a 12 book series, right? And that's a big commitment. And I actually just got, for my birthday or Christmas or whatever, like $50 to Barnes and Nobles, and I had calculated I could get like every book that I was missing for that amount, and like some out of my pocket money. So I was like, okay, you know, like I can do that or whatever. But I was like, you know what? I want to see what the rest of the series is about. Does it follow them? Like, is it generations later, like their kids? What's the issue? What I found out, I was like, what? What? I'm not gonna give it away. I mean, if you read the reviews, again, it's just like reviews, but I think I would be pissed if I read it. So I thrifted book 4 at the flea market, if I'm not mistaken, and then I have book 5 and 6. So I'm going to read those at some point and see how I feel to continue on. A lot of the reviews were saying how Anne Bishop totally messed up a character, like completely changed the character from the book of one of the main characters, that we get her POV often and we learn about her enough for her to be a main character. How much she like just effed her up, just like completely changed her character, completely like made her into everything she didn't stand for, which I would be like, what? Someone dies and I'm like, what? Why? And then yeah, I don't think I'll continue on, which is fine. Like I said, you can read, if you choose to read this, I feel that all your questions would be answered for the most part, and it has a conclusion. It doesn't end on a cliffhanger or whatever. So yeah, I was kind of like, damn, that sucks. But I'm glad that I kind of looked into it. I know it was kind of like risky reading into reviews, but then I saw so many, like, there's a good amount of solid, like 4, 5-star reviews, even 3-star reviews. But then like I kept, you know, I was like, oh man, these 1-star reviews, like, why is it 1-star? I have to know. But yeah, and it does continue on with like generations, right? Like certain people have children and the children grow up and then we kind of learn about them, but the other main characters are still in there and stuff like that. But like the strength of the characters from the beginning kind of gets lost, and they get more broken and messed up, and they kind of just become, in what I took from it all, they become like tainted blood again. And I don't know, that's like a big theme too. Okay, so if you lasted this long, I appreciate it. I'm not sure if I made any damn sense, and if I got you to read the book, let me know. If not, that's totally fine. Most definitely, this book is not for everyone. It is not. Again, great world building. The magic system is really interesting. All the characters are really great. You really get to know them, even the little side characters. It was action-packed. It was funny at times. I didn't really laugh out loud, but it's not like darkness and just depression. You know, it does get broken up with like funny moments, and it's like a lot of found family, which I also really like that in books. So yeah, overall, in regards to like enjoyment and just kind of like, I was intrigued from start to finish. 5 stars for the whole series. Individually, I think individually each book is a 4-star for sure. Because again, there's certain things that like could have been better, but if this was like her first series, then I understand of, you know, growth and all that stuff. Excuse me. But what am I reading next? I'm gonna check out, I checked out a couple books. Maybe I'll like film like a separate video. Yeah, I'll just film a separate video of like what I'm reading next. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was cohesive enough. I'm sorry if it wasn't, but these are all my fresh, raw thoughts of me finishing the Black Jewel series. I still love Anne Bishop, and then it was funny. I was in reading the reviews, and like how bad this series fell off. People were saying like how bad the other series fell off, and I'm like, what? That shit was like a masterpiece to me. But you know, to each their own. Everyone has a different perspective of things, which I just find fascinating, because when I was reading like heavily, like a lot, especially Kindle Unlimited during like COVID and everything, like every book was like 5 stars to me. I can't tell you which one's off the top of my head, but I was like 5-star, like, oh my god, this was like amazing, it was just so good. And then I go to the reviews and it's just like bombed. It's like, what garbage is this? I'm like, it's my garbage. It's my garbage and I love it. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. In the next video, I'll probably be wearing the same thing, and I'm gonna be sharing of what I'm reading next. And yeah, I hope you are reading something amazing. I hope you are making something beautiful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.